I'm going to tell you the 3 biggest reasons why you should lease and not buy your next electric car, but I'm also going to give you 3 exceptions to that rule. All of that is coming up next. Taking over the world, electrifying the world, E4 Electric! Welcome to E4 Electric, your #1 source of unbiased electric car news. If this is your first time here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, so this has been kind of a controversial topic, even though this is all about math. And as somebody from Russia, I kind of pride myself in doing pretty good in understanding math. So now a lot of people say, and let's just get that out of the way. A lot of people say, well, when I'm leasing the car, it's kind of like renting it, but when I bought it, it's mine. By the way, buying a car for cash, unless you're like multi-billionaire, makes no sense. It's always advised against by any financial advisor. So let's just take that out of the equation. We're comparing leasing the car and basically taking out a car loan, right? Now, first of all, you don't own the car either way until you pay it off, especially for the first 3 or 4 years. But usually people buy a brand new car and then they sell it, even if they just buy it for after 3 or 4 years because the warranty expires, there's a newer technology, there are safer cars, or they just get tired and so forth. So we're talking about the majority of people who kind of, when they buy a new car, especially a luxury car, they keep it for 3 or 4 years and then they switch to a newer one. If you buy your cars and run them into the ground after 20 years, this is just not for you, obviously, anyway. So but think about it, the experience is exactly the same. You get the car, the bank owns it, you make payments, and after 3 or 4 years, you give it to someone else. It could be a bank, it could be a new owner, because the bank is essentially going to sell it to the new owner. So overall, it's the same. The car, you can call it whatever you want, but the experience of you owning this car is exactly the same. So I think that needs to be out of the way first, because that's kind of a misconception. Now, really quickly, let me tell you what the exceptions are here. Now, obviously, if you're not interested in selling your car after 3 or 4 years, so that's self-explanatory. But if you're driving over 20,000 miles, or maybe even I would say 18,000 miles, because the largest allowance is 15,000 miles, and after that you pay per mile, then leasing is not for you. By the way, paying per mile over the lease is still fine, because it's kind of the same as if you were bought the car, and then when you're selling it, obviously you're going to sell it for less. Essentially, you're going to pay for driving all those extra miles. So it's kind of the same. It washes itself out as far as math is concerned. But nevertheless, if you're driving more than 20,000 miles a year, the leasing is just not for you. Secondly, your credit score. You have to have a top tier credit score to get the best lease deals. Otherwise, it might not be worth it. I think that a regular, normal, good credit score is still okay. But that just all is about the deal. And there are tons of really good lease deals out there. And the third one is modifications. If you want to mod the hell out of the car, then usually the amount of dollars that you spend on modifications, and it's just not worth it to just give this car back, because they're not going to give you any extra money for the modifications. By the way, they also better not avoid the warranty, because those are the ones that avoid a warranty, then you're completely violating your lease agreement anyway. So those are the 3 exceptions. If you fall under one of those, then you should definitely buy or purchase and take out the loan. So with that out of the way, let's get to the real reasons why you should lease the electric car. Before that, I just want to remind you that this video and the show is sponsored by Byton. Check out the all-new electric SUV, all-electric SUV coming to the US and Europe next year, only starting at $45,000. And look how easy it is to reserve one. There is no payment page, because it doesn't cost anything to reserve. I would suggest you do it right away, because the line is growing and you might end up with 2 or 3 a year wait. Check out the reservation page in the description of this video, or at byton.com. All right, I gotta get faster with this. The video is ahead of me. All right, now let's get to the real reasons why you should lease an electric car. Now, I know Model 3 right now is not for the lease. That's one of the reasons I'm not getting one. At least, I was considering it, I think, a year and a half ago, and that was one of the things that was stopping me. All right, #1 reason is the end of lease value. Now, the reason I'm saying end of lease value, not residual value, because residual value is the value that the bank predicts the car is going to be worth. So, for example, my car right now, I believe I bought it for, the starting price was like $80,000, and the prediction was, the residual value was that there's going to be $50,000 at the end of the lease, which is pretty much right now. Well, guess what? Because of all the changes to the pricing structure, to all the features that came out, this car is no longer worth $50,000 right now. It's probably worth about $35,000, maybe $40,000. at best. But what's going to happen is I've been making payments like it was going to be worth $50,000. So once I give it back to the bank, they're going to lose those $15,000. This is one of the few times when you get to screw the bank, right? And that's what I'm just about to do when I'm going to be returning this car. But Alex, what if the car would be worth more? What if my $50,000 residual value was really a market value would be $60,000? Well, you still get to win because then you pay the bank the residual value that they set for you at $50,000, and you sell the car for 60 and they make some extra money. I've done this before a few times both ways. Let the bank lose money or myself recover the money that I was kind of owed because the market price was higher than what the bank predicted. So the end of the lease value is extremely important because if you were to buy this car and the price, like in my case, would have gone down. So let's say I paid 80,000 for mine, and then I ended up selling it for 35 after this, 3.5 years. I would have lost $15,000 more than I'm losing now, and by losing meaning investing into driving this car all this time. So the end of lease value that is always is higher or lower is so extremely important, especially for the electric cars. Now, all of this advice I'm giving is kind of can go for all types of cars, but for the electric car especially, because we don't know. We don't know how fast the technology is moving and what the value of an electric car and what the condition of the batteries and technology and safety features is going to be in 3 years. 3 years is like an eternity right now in the electric car universe, as you guys probably know. So all of these predictions are really, really vague. So you can either lose or win a lot of money, but a lot of times these cars get devalued very fast and you end up losing more money if you end up buying them. All right, let's go to reason number 2. And this one is specifically for the electric cars. Doesn't really work for gas cars because, as you guys know, you get a tax credit here in the United States. In other countries, though, I don't know how that works there. But here in the U.S. and I believe Canada, whenever there is a tax incentive, you basically, let me back up, right? If you were just to purchase a car, let's say I would have bought a car right now, right? Which is, well, we're about 4 days before the tax deadline. If I would have purchased this right now, then and I need to make sure that I've paid at least $7,500 in taxes this year, which I don't think is going to be a problem. But for some people, it might be because they take a year off or whatever. So I won't be able to get that money in about a year when I'm filing my taxes for this year, next year before the April 15th deadline. So even though you are getting $7,500 back, you have to wait for a year for it. If you are leasing the car, because the owner of the car is going to be the bank until the end of the lease, it's the bank that's going to be getting that tax credit, and therefore they're right away passing those savings to you. So that's $7,500 credit. And by the way, whatever it is right now for Tesla is half of that, right? That tax credit is going to be calculated into your lease right away. So you get that tax credit right away rather than waiting for it and risking maybe not getting it if you ended up not paying enough taxes and so forth at the end of this year into the next year. So the built-in tax credit is a big deal because you get it right away. It's like an instant rebate. Now let's move on to the third one. And this one is, every time, if anything, if there's one good reason to lease a car, and this goes for electric or gas or whatever, is the sales tax savings. The way it works, if you were to buy a $100,000 car and you were to get a loan and purchase it, and then sell it in 3 years, you're still gonna have to pay, let's say, 9% sales tax, so you will pay $9,000. But if you were to lease exactly the same car, you would pay half of that because the residual value is usually half, so it would be $50,000. And you only pay tax on the usage of the car, which will be $50,000 as well. So you will pay only half of that 9%, which is 4.5%, which is $4,500. That's why I kept it at the round numbers. So you save on the sales tax just right away. Why would you pay sales tax on the car that you're not going to be using? Someone else is going to be driving after 3 years, and yet you paid that sales tax on its entire lifetime. So I would say, if anything, the sales tax savings is just, should convince you to lease the car. So those are the main 3 reasons why you should lease the car and a car, but definitely in an electric car for sure. Now, my channel is also sponsored by this company called Accelerated Auto, and you guys can check them out. So they do business leasing, for example. Business leasing is where your business would lease a car for you. And that's technically yet another reason to lease a car, because business leases are easier to write off. Though, of course, you should consider and consult your CPA or a tax consultant. So that's another thing that that I would suggest you guys look into. So that's I mean, again, I've leased all of my cars. I've been so happy, and every time I feel like I either don't lose as much money as I could right now, or I win some of that money or recover some of that money. So I absolutely love it. By the way, don't forget to subscribe to our VIP list, which is our new weekly newsletter. That's where you'll be able to get some exclusive content that you don't find on this channel or even my website, some offers, some news. So check it out. It's free, obviously. You just put an email address, boom. Just go to e4electric.com/VIP. That link is in the description of this video. And thank you to one of my newer Patreons, Sarvesh Chandra. Thank you so much for joining my Patreon community, the only place where you can watch these live. So you're the first ones to see these videos. I appreciate everyone's support and contribution to my independent channel. If you want to become a Patreon, go to the description of this video and you'll see the link, patreon.com/e4electric. Thank you so much for joining me. All right, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. I'll try to answer it. Other than that, see you next time, and remember to stay charged.